My name is Daniel Cross, a 45-year-old financial analyst. The cool, fluorescent lighting in my office cast a harsh glow over the piles of reports and financial statements surrounding me. It was a mundane Thursday, and as I rattled through countless figures, I couldn't shake an unsettling feeling that had settled in my gut. Then my phone buzzed, an unexpected message from an old friend, Tom. His words jolted me as if he had struck me. "Daniel, I think you should know. I heard Margaret is seeing someone." Disbelief coursed through my veins, mingling with a rising tide of dread. My mind raced. How could my wife, my partner for over 20 years, betray me? The laughter we shared, the dreams we built, flashed through my mind like an uninvited slideshow. I had always prided myself on my observational skills, yet here I was, blindsided. I hit reply, demanding details, but all my thoughts felt futile against the weight of his revelation. Margaret was seeing a younger man, someone who seemed to have his sights set on what I'd worked tirelessly to create. I leaned back in my chair as a wave of anger and confusion washed over me. Subtle signs from the past came rushing back: Margaret's growing obsession with luxury, unexplained late nights, her increasing distance. Red flags I had chosen to ignore, believing that our relationship was solid, built on a foundation of love and loyalty. That foundation now felt like dust beneath my feet. With a cold realization settling in, I recognized a painful truth. Loyalty can turn to dust when greed clouds the heart. As those words echoed in my mind, I steeled myself against the emotional storm brewing inside. This was not just betrayal but a war for my life, the life Margaret was now threatening to destroy. I couldn't allow myself to spiral into chaos. I had to act strategically, analyzing my next steps with the precision I employed in my career. My first task was clear: examine our finances meticulously. Our shared accounts could hold the key to uncovering the depth of her deception. With renewed determination, I reached for my notebook and began drafting a plan. I would scrutinize everything: the irregularities in our accounts, the investments, anything that could reveal the truth lurking beneath the surface. No more distractions. I paused, turning my phone to silent, determined to block out the world until I had clarity. As the last rays of daylight seeped from the room, I felt a surge of energy. This was a quest, not for revenge, but for understanding. Each piece of evidence I gathered would paint a clearer picture of what I was about to face. I was no longer a passive observer in my own life. I was ready to confront the storm with cold logic and calculation. The pursuit for answers had commenced. I would unravel this web of deception and grip tightly to my reality, determined to reclaim control over what was mine. The battle was just beginning, and I was prepared to fight. Let me know if you'd like to proceed to the next block. It was strange how memories can strike with such clarity, flooding the mind when one least expects it. The mundane buzz of my office began to fade away, and I found myself lost in a reverie, sifting through the happy moments of my past with Margaret. How had things spiraled so far from those early days? I could still remember the scent of fresh-cut flowers filling our first apartment, the walls adorned with photos documenting our journey, paintings from our honeymoon in Italy, happy faces at family gatherings, sun-kissed smiles during our outdoor adventures. We were young, ambitious, and seemingly inseparable. Each shared dream felt like a promise, threads binding us together with unyielding strength. But life has a way of compounding the simple joys into complexities. As I dug deeper into my thoughts, the memories took a darker turn, shifting from joy to subtle discontent. Margaret had always been curious about a more affluent lifestyle, often voicing her desire for finer things. At first, I embraced it, wanting to spoil her with luxuries she had never known. A brand-name handbag here, a spontaneous trip there. I thought I was nurturing her ambitions, when, in hindsight, perhaps I was feeding something insatiable. Our conversations turned from shared dreams to an undercurrent of tension. I often caught her stealing glances at her phone during dinner, and her responses became infrequent, distracted. There were moments where I would pass her in the hallway and catch her eye, only to see a flicker of something unrecognizable. Was it guilt? Regret? I brushed the anxiety aside, believing it was merely a phase. Little did I know, those seemingly insignificant signs were harbingers of turmoil. Margaret had gained interests that felt foreign to our life, fashion shows, exclusive events filled with the elite. I could feel her slipping into a world I struggled to understand. "It's just networking," she assured me one night, her voice laced with a pleading tone. "You know how important it is for my career." But as I sat there listening, I felt the uncomfortable itch of something deeper lurking below the surface. The friends she was now keeping pulled her into a different orbit, one that revolved around glamour and status. Yet, I was working hard, pouring my hours into my job, trying to secure our financial future while my own feelings of inadequacy grew. Where once we communicated fluidly, silence now filled the gaps in our conversations. I worked longer and longer hours to provide for us, thinking that dedication equaled devotion. But did my absence, with work as my crutch, create a void that greed could easily fill? The days turned into months, and I watched with clenched fists as she transformed. Luxury brands began to populate our home, boxes from designer stores cluttered the hallways. She would jokingly refer to treating herself to some self-care, but it wasn't just mere pampering. It was something more sinister, an appetite that would threaten to consume everything we had built together. Reflecting on these moments now filled me with a mix of anger and sorrow. I felt like a pawn in a game I had been oblivious to. Margaret's interests had shifted, inching her closer to a life I had never signed up for. The man she was with, Jason, was a glaring embodiment of that shift. He wasn't merely an affair, he represented everything that I had not been able to provide. What had I missed? How did I let it come to this? These questions tormented me like sharp blades. Now, as the realization set in, I understood that this betrayal was layered. It wasn't just about infidelity, it was a reflection of a marriage turned transactional, of love subverted by greed. From deep within came a surge of determination. I wouldn't let this betrayal define me or overshadow the life I had worked so hard to build. I began to piece together a plan with meticulous care, allowing my professional expertise to light the way forward. I could use our financial situation to create a strategy that would demand accountability. The transition from loss to empowerment was not easy, but I promised myself I would channel my broken trust into something constructive. With every spreadsheet and balance sheet I combed through, adrenaline surged through my veins. As I recalled the joyful memories of Margaret, I realized the stark contrast that now resided between the past and present. Love had turned sour. Those shared dreams were under siege by her self-serving aspirations. But I would not stand idly by. With each detail I uncovered, every piece of evidence I collected, it would bring me closer to the truth, one that I would confront head-on. The game was now on, and I was prepared to play for keeps. No longer the passive husband, I would become an investigator, meticulously collecting information to expose the layers of deceit. My analytical mind would guide me through the complex web of emotions and betrayal. As twilight settled outside my office window, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. This battle was not just for revenge, it was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and perhaps, my peace of mind. I would not go down without a fight. Let me know when you're ready to continue with the next block. The hours following my revelation passed in a blur of focused determination. I flicked through spreadsheets and bank statements with laser-like intensity. Each line held the potential for a hidden truth, an unexplained expense or an unusual withdrawal. I had become an investigator in my own life, and I was ready to unearth the truth. My first target was our joint bank account. As I scanned the transactions, my heart raced. Charges from high-end retailers leaped off the page: chic boutique, $250. Gourmet weekend escape, $800. The late-night withdrawals ignited my imagination, echoing with suspicions I could no longer ignore. Had she been using our money to fund her affair? Focusing my adrenaline into a methodical investigation felt perversely satisfying, as if I were reclaiming the narrative of my own life. As I sorted through each transaction, my phone buzzed, pulling me from my focus. Tom had messaged me again asking how my inquiry was going. Frustrated, I replied, "I'm on it," unwilling to disclose the emotional turmoil that lingered beneath my composed facade. After an evening of relentless scrutiny, I decided to piece together a timeline of Margaret's activities. I logged onto her social media, treading on sacred ground, scrolling through photos documenting her recent escapades. My heart sank as I noted the new faces surrounding her, their glamorous lifestyles a stark contrast to my own quiet existence. And there he was, Jason, with his charming smile and easy confidence, accompanying her on lavish outings. Their intimacy radiated from the screen, laughter shared over candlelit dinners, smiles exchanged that felt like daggers to me. It became painfully clear this was more than an innocent friendship, it was an affair, a betrayal nested within my home. Determined not to succumb to emotional turmoil, I collected printed images and notes as evidence to strengthen my resolve. This would serve as my arsenal against the betrayal that threatened to consume me. I knew I needed to move forward with a tactical plan. Surveillance became my next step. I purchased a small camera disguised as a houseplant, intending to capture the moments of betrayal unfolding within the confines of our home. Setting up the camera felt both exhilarating and unnerving. I imagined Margaret's oblivious joy as she came home, unaware that these simple moments would become the foundation of my confrontation. What would I catch on film? Would the reality be as painful as the anticipation? In the days that followed, I developed a routine, returning home from work earlier than usual, trying to mask the intensity of my feelings. Every dinner became a tightrope walk as she prepared for nights out, laughter and excitement spilling from her. This felt like a masquerade, the weight of each moment heavy in the air. I tried to keep my emotions in check as I waited. A part of me hoped for an outcome that would alleviate this pain, maybe I was wrong about her? But the reality loomed ever closer, each day forcing me to confront the truth I was gathering. One Friday night, as I settled into my usual spot on the couch, nerves danced through me. The hands of the clock seemed to mock my tense anticipation. Would tonight be the night? My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through me as I prepared myself to witness her betrayal. When she eventually returned home after an outing, my heart sank. Jason followed closely behind, their laughter ringed in my ears like a death knell. I felt frozen, watching the camera feed as reality crashed over me. They were intimate, sharing stolen moments that cut deeper than any betrayal ever could. In that moment, despair transformed into cold resolve. This wasn't just a personal hurt, it was evidence for a battle I would not shy away from. I would expose this betrayal, confronting Margaret with the truth that I now held firmly in my grasp. I tightened my grip around the remote, knowing my passive role as a husband was over. The storm I had been waiting to unleash was ready. I had built the foundation with unwavering evidence. As I prepared to confront her, a profound sense of clarity washed over me. This was my life, my dignity, and I wouldn't allow betrayal to define my story. I was ready to face my wife and the fractured partnership we had once celebrated. I would reclaim what had been lost, armed with truths and a determination that wouldn't bend. Let me know when you're ready to move to the next block. The atmosphere in our home felt charged as I waited for Margaret to settle into her post-outing routine. I could hear the familiar sounds of her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Our living room transformed into a theater where the climax of an unthinkable drama awaited. My heart thumped in my chest, adrenaline coursing through me while I fought against the onslaught of emotions battling within. I had spent days gathering evidence, detailing every slip and betrayal. I'd meticulously kept the camera footage securely tucked away, ready to unveil the reality that had been hiding in the shadows. My hands trembled slightly as I clenched the remote, a small tether to the strength I needed as I steeled myself for the impending confrontation. "Hey, honey. You won't believe the night I had," came her exuberant voice, almost melodic. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, the kind that roils in the pit of the stomach when facing something unacceptable. "Margaret," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, trembling from the weight of the moment. She stepped into the living room, her face lighting up with a smile that faltered when she caught sight of my expression. I could see recognition pass over her features, a sudden understanding that something wasn't right. "What's wrong?" she asked, her tone shifting to concern. "You could say I've had a night too, one filled with revelations." My voice was steady as I gestured toward the couch. "Sit down. We need to talk." The joyous air was abruptly replaced with tension as she eased herself into the seat across from me. She folded her arms defensively, her eyes narrowing as I took the time to find my words. I needed to be calculated, to present what I had uncovered before allowing my feelings to erupt fully. "Do you remember those late nights out? The unexplained shopping sprees? The lavish meals at restaurants?" Each line felt like a bullet, aimed directly at the heart of our marriage. Her demeanor changed, tension radiating off of her in palpable waves. "What are you talking about?" she replied, her voice betraying a hint of anxiety. "I'm talking about the life we built, Margaret. The trust we said we had, which you've shattered with every lie you've woven." I paused, letting the silence stretch out between us. "You've hitched your wagon to someone else, and I know who it is, Jason." The name hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. At that moment, I saw her mask slip. The confident veneer faded, and a flicker of guilt danced behind her eyes. Just one small glimpse into her soul, but it was enough. "How could you go so far?" I pressed, forcing myself to maintain composure. "While I was working hard for us, you were off playing house with another man." "Alex, it's not what you think," she began, but I cut her off, refusing to let her weasel out of this one. "Oh, but it is," I continued, my voice calm yet firm. "I've gathered evidence, Margaret. Photos, messages, and, as chilling as it may be, video footage of you two together." I had thought I'd feel triumphant, but instead, sadness enveloped me. Her face paled, the full weight of my accusations crashing down upon her. "You've invaded my privacy?" There was a mix of disbelief and anger in her voice. "You've done all this without even confronting me first?" I had to know the truth. If I had asked, you would have lied to my face again. "You've treated this marriage as if it were a game, and I refuse to be an unwitting participant." I shifted forward in my seat, the emotional storm brewing inside now dangerously close to overflowing. "This is about me reclaiming what's mine, what you've stolen from us." She opened her mouth to respond, but I could see the words choking in her throat. "I loved you, Alex," she finally managed, her voice a mere whisper. "I didn't mean for it to turn out like this." "Did you really?" I shot back, anger piercing through my sadness. "Because the love I felt for you was real, while you've been playing me for a fool. I don't recognize the person you've become." Tension hung thick in the air, her eyes darting as if searching for a lifeline. I could see the wheels turning in her head, attempting to devise a way to spin this narrative to her advantage. "Please, let's talk about this." "I can explain," she urged, feigning vulnerability, but I wasn't in the mood for her manipulation. I had resolved to expose the layers of lies even if it shattered us in the process. "Explain what?" I leaned forward, my gaze unflinching. "That you're selfish? That everything I've done for you in the name of love was met with betrayal? You have a choice here, either come clean or accept the fallout of your deceit." Desperation etched her features, glimmers of fear and regret shining through. "It's complicated, Alex." Jason and I clicked. "I thought we could separate what was happening with us from what I feel for you." "That's not how love works, Margaret," I shouted, the frustration bubbling forth now. "You can't compartmentalize emotions and then run back to me as if nothing happened. You've had your fun, it's time to face the music." She sunk deeper into the couch, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't want to lose you," she said, her voice cracking. "Things got out of hand. I never meant to hurt you." "Then it's too late," I declared, my voice suddenly cold and steel-like. "You can't have it both ways. This is the reality you've created, and now you must deal with the consequences." I stood, taking a deep breath as I stared down at her. I was trembling, not from fear but from the raw intensity of the confrontation. I will not allow this to continue. I deserve honesty, Margaret, and if you cannot provide that moving forward, then I will not be part of this charade any longer. Emotions swirled chaotically as she looked up at me, and I realized I had only scratched the surface of the volatile energy crackling between us. It was a critical moment, a decisive point of no return. Was this confrontation the end of us, or the beginning of a different kind of awakening? For every ounce of betrayal that stung, a strange sense of empowerment surged within me. I couldn't predict where this would lead, but I knew one thing: I was prepared to fight for my reality, whatever it may cost. And as Margaret sat there, the shattered remnants of our former life hanging unceremoniously in the balance, I steeled myself for the uncertain road ahead. The truth had finally emerged, and with it, the promise for something new, something that would allow me to reclaim my dignity and move forward, whether that meant healing together or standing tall alone. Let me know when you're ready for the next block. I stepped back, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts as I watched Margaret process the weight of our confrontation. The air in the room felt charged, laden with unspoken tensions and emotions that had festered between us for too long. This wasn't just about her betrayal, it was the fragile thread that had held our entire relationship together, now fraying at the seams. "What do you want from me, Alex?" she asked, her voice tremulous, a mix of anger and fear barely concealed beneath her calm exterior. "I want the truth," I said, my gaze steady, unwilling to let her evade the question. "I need to understand if there's any part of you still willing to fight for us, or if I'm just a pawn in your game." Her expression shifted, confidence morphing into vulnerability as she sunk deeper into the couch. "I didn't choose this. It just happened. I thought it was harmless fun, something to fill the void." Her words cut deeper than I expected. Anguish and anger waged war within me. "So your solution to feeling lonely was to betray me? You could have communicated your feelings instead. Did you think I wouldn't understand?" My voice trembled as I felt the bitterness rise within me. "Maybe we need space," she suggested hesitantly, raising her hands as if to shield herself from my response. "Space?" I echoed, scoffing at the thought. "You think just walking away will fix this? We can't vanish and pretend this never happened. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "I regret everything," she snapped, her frustration bubbling over. "But we can't just go back to how things were." "Then it's too late," I shot back, my anger boiling beneath the surface, hot and unforgiving. "You've made your bed, now you have to lie in it." An oppressive silence wrapped around us, thick and suffocating. I could feel the storm brewing in my chest, an emotional cyclone threatening to sweep away the last remnants of our relationship. "Is that really what you want?" she whispered, searching my face for an ounce of hope. "Us apart? Is that what you're saying?" "Maybe that's what we both need," I replied slowly, weighing every word. "Time to reflect on who we really are, apart from this toxic mess we've created. I can't keep pretending that this is okay." She looked up at me, her eyes glistening with tears. "I don't want to lose you," she confessed, desperation creeping into her voice. "Then perhaps losing each other is what we need to find ourselves again," I asserted, my voice softer but unwavering. The irony tugged at my heart. I was asking for a separation from the one person I thought I couldn't live without. In the weeks that followed, the silence grew louder, echoing through our home like a haunting melody. I threw myself into work, allowing spreadsheets and deadlines to drown out the emotional chaos that churned within me. The numbness felt like a protective shield against the heartbreak, but I knew it was only temporary. During this time, I turned to Tom for support. We met at our usual cafe, a cozy enclave that seemed to promise comfort amidst my unraveling world. I felt that I could confide in him, share the depths of my despair, and seek guidance on the tangled mess that was now my emotional landscape. "How's it going, man?" he asked, concern etched across his face as he sipped from his steaming cup. I let out a weary sigh, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. I'm not sure how to feel. Some days, I'm furious, other days, I'm hollow, drifting with no anchor. Tom nodded in understanding. That's natural after betrayal. It rattles your sense of self. It makes you question everything. Everything I thought was real has turned out to be a lie, I admitted, barely able to meet his gaze. I don't even know who I am without her in my life. He leaned closer, his eyes steady and serious. But this is also an opportunity, Alex. You can reclaim your identity and come out stronger. It's not about her at this point, it's about you and what you need moving forward. I took a deep breath, allowing his words to sink in. What if she doesn't want that? What if she's already moved on? Then that's on her, Tom responded firmly. You deserve better than someone who can so easily toss you aside. Trust your instincts. You know what you need. As days turned into a blur of introspection, I started to embrace the quality of self-discovery. I resumed fitness classes, revisited forgotten hobbies, and even rekindled friendships I had neglected in the wake of her betrayal. Each small step began peeling away the layers of heartache, unveiling a new sense of empowerment growing within me. But then, late one night, I received a text from Margaret. Can we talk? I miss you. I'm so sorry for everything. My heart raced, nostalgia flooding my mind, the good times, the laughter, and a life once filled with warmth. This was a moment of reckoning, and I knew it was time to make a choice. Do I welcome her back, risking the progress I've fought so hard to achieve? Or do I confront the complexities of our tangled history once again, knowing that everything had shifted irreparably? Fingers hovering above the screen, I exhaled deeply, trying to gather my thoughts. Memories of gentle laughter mixed with darker echoes of betrayal filled my mind. It was pivotal. I recalled Tom's wise words about reclaiming my identity, redefining who I was meant to be. My heart felt heavy as I deliberated. This decision would not only impact my relationship with Margaret but would ultimately define my own sense of self moving forward. I needed to prepare myself for the conversation that awaited us. It was a confrontation of truths. Could we attempt reconciliation, knowing that our past was marred by betrayal? Or was this the moment to close the chapter for good, finally drawing a line in the sand? I glanced at my phone, contemplating how to respond. Each passing second felt like a lifetime, the weight of potential futures pressing down on me. The prospect of facing her again, navigating those familiar waters, felt daunting but necessary. Whatever the outcome, I understood this was an essential step toward understanding the remnants of our shared history. I clenched my jaw, feeding my resolve as I prepared to meet Margaret again. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to confront whatever lay before me, piecing together the fragments of my existence and deciding how to reshape my future. Let me know when you're ready for the next block. The sun hung low in the sky as I pulled into the parking lot of our favorite cafe, a nostalgic little spot that brimmed with memories of laughter and shared dreams. Today, however, the air was thick with unease. I stepped out of the car, the gravel crunching beneath my feet echoing my internal turmoil. Each step toward the entrance felt like traversing a tightrope strung between the past and an uncertain future. As I entered, the familiar aromas of roasted coffee and baked goods washed over me, but it did little to soothe the tempest raging within. I spotted her at a corner table, her back turned to me, shoulders slightly hunched as if the weight of the world rested on her frame. Time felt suspended as I watched her. It stirred up memories of happier days. Moments we'd shared at this very table haunted me. Today, however, that shared space felt like a battleground. Hey, I finally said, my voice steadier than I felt. She turned, and the sight of her struck a chord deep in my chest. Her eyes were red-rimmed, reflecting hurt and remorse, and my heart wavered between memories of love and the recent surge of betrayal. Alex, she breathed, almost as if my name was a prayer. Thank you for coming. I wouldn't have missed this, I replied, taking a seat across from her. My heart raced, but I kept my face neutral, forcing myself to focus on why we were here. There was a weighty silence, the tension between us thick as molasses. As I raked my hands through my hair, I felt the simmering frustration surge. You texted me. You wanted to talk. Yes, I did, she said, her voice small yet urgent. I realize now how much I messed things up. I've had time to think about everything. Have you really? I asked, skepticism leaking into my tone. Because the last time we spoke, I felt like you were still trying to compartmentalize everything. Margaret's gaze fell to the table, frustration flickering across her features. I was confused, Alex. I thought I could handle it all, that the feelings I had for Jason were separate from what I felt for you. But I now see how selfish that was. Her admission hung in the air, and I didn't know whether to feel relief or anger. Twice now, I had heard remorse from her lips. Was it sincere, or just another means of evasion? You can't just decide when to love someone, I replied, a tightness in my chest constricting my breath. Love isn't something you can compartmentalize. It doesn't work that way. I know that now. Please, just let me explain. You're important to me, Alex. More than I've ever realized, she pleaded, her voice cracking. I've been doing a lot of soul-searching, and it's been excruciating. I miss you. Miss me? I laughed dryly, the bitterness rolling off my tongue. How can you miss me when you were willing to throw us away? The hurt flickered back to life, fueling a sense of betrayal that coursed through my veins. I wasn't thinking straight. I was caught up in a whirlwind, she cried, her hands grasping the edge of the table. The desperation in her voice made me want to abandon my hurt and dive headfirst into conversation. Caught up in a whirlwind? I echoed, disbelief flooding my senses. You don't understand how that sounds, do you? You say you miss what we had, but I can't help but wonder what made you think the thrill could replace the foundation we've built. Margaret closed her eyes, taking a moment to gather herself. I thought I could be that person. I thought we were fine, but I was mistaken. I've realized that this isn't about him, it's about us. I studied her, trying to decipher whether there was authenticity in her words. The deep lines of remorse etched across her face tugged at something deep inside me. What does that really mean? What does us even look like now? I want to start fresh. To rebuild, she pressed, her voice gaining strength. I've made mistakes, but I'm ready to put in the work if you are. It felt as if I were standing on a precipice, both exhilarating and terrifying. But trust can't be rebuilt overnight, Margaret, I cautioned, my tone serious. It will take time, and I don't know if I can invest in something that feels so fragile right now. I understand, she said, tears shimmering in her eyes. But if I could just show you how much you mean to me. I just need another chance. I leaned back, my mind racing through the whirlwind of emotions. Her words hung between us, forming a bridge towards something new, but the memories of betrayal still loomed like a dark cloud. My heart thrummed in my chest. Every instinct told me to guard myself, but something else stirred, a flicker of hope buried deep inside. Another chance? I repeated, weighing her plea. What would that even look like? How do we move forward from here, knowing how fragile our trust is? I don't have all the answers, Alex. But I do know I want to fight for us, she replied, her sincerity palpable. I wouldn't have asked to meet if I didn't mean it. I'm prepared to show you, rebuild, brick by brick, if you'll let me. The words resonated, and I felt my defenses begin to shatter amidst the flickers of possibility. Maybe she truly understood the magnitude of what we were facing. Perhaps rebuilding was the very path I needed to walk down. Taking a deep breath, I said, this is going to take time. Trust doesn't just come back because we want it to. If we do this, we'll need open communication and raw honesty, even when it hurts. A glimmer of hope lit Margaret's eyes, but I also saw the determination simmering there. I'm ready for that, she said, her voice unwavering. I know I have to earn it back. I'll do whatever it takes. Okay, I replied cautiously, uncertainty flooding my mind. But I need to see actions, not just words. I need to feel that you're committed to this, and I also need space to process my feelings. Yes. I can do that, she agreed, a mixture of relief and renewed apprehension washing over her face. A fragile light began to seep through the cracks of our past. While the road ahead remained uncertain, I realized this was the first voluntary step towards healing, a conversation that could lead us into unfamiliar territory. There was a flicker of promise in our shared silence, a mutual understanding that we were both willing to engage in the battle of rebuilding trust. As we left the cafe, an unfamiliar tension filled the air, a sense of cautious optimism mingling with the specter of pain. I understood we were embarking on a difficult journey, one filled with potential and risk. And while I didn't know where this path would ultimately lead us, I finally felt a sense of agency over my own destiny again. Let me know when you're ready for the next block. After our conversation at the cafe, the days that followed felt surreal. The air between us was thick with tension, both a reminder of our fragile history and a tentative spark of something new. Rebuilding trust wasn't just about words, it required consistent actions, and every interaction we had was a test of that commitment. Margaret began reaching out more frequently, sending small messages that conveyed her thoughts. "Thinking of you, hope your day is going well," became lifelines, connecting us in a way that felt both comforting and precarious. I found myself responding, allowing bits of hope to edge back into my heart, but I also remained guarded. One evening, a message flashed on my phone, "Can we meet for coffee tomorrow? I want to talk more." A wave of mixed emotions washed over me. Could I really handle another deep dive into the complexities of our past? Yet despite my apprehensions, I agreed. As I walked to the cafe, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. The atmosphere buzzed with familiar energy, and I stepped inside, my eyes landing on Margaret in our usual corner. Her nervousness was palpable. She fidgeted with her hair, stealing glances around the room. "Hey," I greeted her, trying to keep my voice steady even as my heart raced. "Hey," she replied, her smile brightening momentarily before uncertainty crept back in. "Thanks for coming. I have something I want to share." "What's on your mind?" I asked, bracing myself. "I've been thinking about what you said, about actions over words. I know I can't just ask for forgiveness and expect everything to reset," she said, her earnestness shining through. "I want to show you I'm committed to moving forward." Her words hung in the air, and I could see the sincerity etched on her face. "Okay," I said slowly, trying to gauge where this might lead. "What does that look like for you? What are you prepared to do?" "I'd love for you to meet my friends," she suggested, her eyes hopeful. "I want you to see my life and understand just how serious I am about this relationship." Her proposal caught me off guard. Meeting her friends felt like stepping into uncharted territory where old wounds could be reopened. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" I hesitated. "What if I'm not ready yet?" "I believe it's an important step. It will show you that I'm trying to be vulnerable and open," she pressed, her sincerity challenging my doubts. I realized this was a pivotal moment for us. "All right, I'll think about it. But I need space, too." "I still have a lot to process," I replied. Margaret nodded, relief washing over her face. "Of course. I just want to prove to you how committed I am." That evening, a flicker of hope ignited within me. The prospect of rebuilding felt tangible, yet I couldn't help but feel the weight of our history. In the weeks that followed, Margaret kept her promise, inviting me to join her in activities that mattered to her, art shows, outdoor festivals, and cooking classes. Each experience was a tiny thread woven into the fabric of our relationship, allowing me to see her world and the people she held dear. During one visit to an art gallery, as we admired a chaotic canvas splashed with vibrant colors, I turned to her. "It's beautiful," I said, genuinely captivated by the emotional depth of the piece. "Like life, right?" she replied thoughtfully. "It can be messy, full of chaos, yet somehow it comes together in unexpected ways." Her reflection struck a chord, reminding me that our path wasn't meant to be perfect. As we stood there, hand in hand, I felt a sense of connection begin to form again, a gentle reweaving of a bond that had frayed. One evening, while sitting together on my couch, I felt the urge to confront the lingering shadows from our past. Margaret, I said carefully, I appreciate what you're doing, but I still feel the echoes of what happened. This isn't something that just goes away. I understand, she replied, her gaze steady and expressive. I don't expect you to forget. I just want to create new memories that can help with healing. Nodding slowly, I recognized the truth in her words. It's a process, but maybe we can navigate it together. As the days passed, a delicate dance unfolded between us, an interplay of vulnerability, hope, and caution. I found myself drawn further into her world, yet traces of skepticism remained. Each small victory felt monumental, yet I couldn't ignore the shadows reminding me of what had come before. I realized that this journey wouldn't be easy. But now, there was a glimmer of potential, an opportunity to redefine our narrative, turning shared pain into a resilient foundation for something new. Together, we'd take one step at a time, cautious yet hopeful, forging ahead into the uncharted territory that awaited. Let me know when you're ready for the next block.